Let's talk about the Bombvoyage furry convention drama. Now recently, there's been a surge in cosplayers going around at furry conventions, putting on these characters that are very nonsensical and unhinged in probably the funniest ways possible, adding some variety to the furry convention experience. Recently, there have been many different cosplayers, like Lois Griffin. You have someone who's been going around as Velma, Daphne, and Fred. I met all three of them at FWA this weekend, and let me just say, they are probably one of my personal favorite cosplayers. Velma, Daphne, and Fred, whoever you are, you made my convention. And then, of course, the notorious Bombvoyage from The Incredibles. I don't know when they started cosplaying around furry conventions, but they've been relatively popular in the community. A lot of videos and photos being taken of them sort of faking these notorious heists or being the villain of the evening. I remember late at night at Texas Furry Fiesta, some fire trucks had to come to the hotel because there was smoke, maybe a smoke alarm went off, and so there were a lot of blaring lights and fire trucks in the front of the hotel. And Bombvoyage just walks up and sort of like takes the crowd in awe by pretending they were the one responsible for it and just like, mwah, mwah, thank you everyone, like sort of taking credit for what happened in a very parody, nonsensical sense. And everyone loves it. I love that sort of energy that they put out there. I mean, he didn't actually cause the fire or anything, but it's funny to think that he just kind of showed up right on time when the action was happening. Now, how could this character or cosplayer have caused such a ruckus on social media this last week? Well, during Furry Week in Atlanta, at least on the last day, super late into the evening, I think it was just Monday early morning at this point, but people were still out and about, chilling in the con space, partying, listening to the DJs play, and just overall, the energy was still high, surprisingly for like Monday at 1 in the morning. But pretty much what happened was the cosplayer known as Bombvoyage had borrowed a toy assault rifle weapon from one of their friends and was posing on it on one of the platforms above the crowd of folks in the main hotel lobby. And the video that's playing is pretty much just what ended up happening. He was showing off this weapon, holding it above his head, and like sort of inciting an applause. People thought it was a very nonsensical thing, and it was just more so, I believe, to live up the character. Now, there were a few points where Bombvoyage ended up pointing the weapon at the crowd, which we'll talk about that not being okay later. But overall, it was a very, very small instance. It was recorded on video. Plenty of people were posting about it on Twitter. If anything, very positively of like, another successful heist from our lovable Bombvoyage. So this video was initially posted on Monday after the con. And since then, it has exploded in many different arguments about the validity of why toy guns are allowed in a space at a furry convention, which they're not, and many different other things, like if Bombvoyage should be banned from the con, how inappropriate it was, should tactical gear be allowed or disallowed at furry conventions. But the main thing that a lot of people agreed on was that the prop toy assault rifle featured in the video should not be allowed in a con space. In the video, it could be mistaken as an actual weapon. And even though this was relatively popular in the moment, it ended up being a not really funny thing, and a lot of folks were upset about it on Twitter. Reasonably so. Especially some of the screen caps of Bombvoyage pointing the gun at the crowd, like that just, yeah, no. That was just not appropriate in general. I mean, I won't lie. As much as it was very inappropriate to have any sort of toy prop gun at a furry convention, I can understand the humor in the context, the absurdity of it, fulfilling a character with Bombvoyage being a villain, but there are a few factors that make this not okay, and especially not appropriate to have happen at a furry convention. The main thing is the safety and well-being of the attendees. From the point of view of looking at the video, if you did not know that it was a prop or toy gun, like especially from the distance that all these videos and photos were being taken, you cannot tell that it is not a real gun. Which, even if it isn't a real gun, I don't think it would be appropriate to be having it out and about and very much shown in a convention space that could very well be crowded to that extent. Which actually, let me bring up the code of conduct for FWA right now to give a good look as to what their policy is. So for Furry Week in Atlanta's policy on weapons, to ensure the safety of all of our attendees and other people in the hotel, Furry Week in Atlanta will be strictly enforcing a ban on weapons at the convention. If it looks like a weapon, or could easily be mistaken for a weapon, we don't want to see it in the convention area. Functioning weapons will absolutely not be tolerated. Possession of a concealed carry permit or weapon carry license does not override this policy. Anyone caught with a weapon will be expelled from the convention and barred from attending future conventions. Anyone refusing to leave or who returns will be subject to arrest for criminal trespass. So pretty much the point that matters here is if it looks like a weapon, it shouldn't be shown in the convention space, plain and simple. And I think that's a very fair policy to have, especially for attendees who don't know whether or not a weapon is real or not. You don't want to assume it's a prop if it is. If the weapon is not appropriately shown as a prop, it could invoke an opposite reaction. Say someone actually does have a weapon on them as a concealed carry or a weapons license, and they see someone pull out a prop or toy gun aiming it at the crowd. Yeah, not a smart idea to have the proper toy gun. It's a very simple point. The gun makes folks uncomfy. It's not a matter of a majority are comfy with it, a small amount aren't. You gotta still keep that in mind. I don't think having any sort of prop weaponry in a convention space or event that is predominantly a queer or LGBTQIA+ community is a good idea. Now, on the point of that matter, if there was this rule for the convention, why was this prop allowed in the convention space? And the reason for that comes from actually the cosplayer's tweet giving context as to the whole situation. This happened a few days after the videos started blowing up, and the user known as Superb Pedra, which they're the cosplayer behind Bombvoyage, and they put out a statement pretty much detailing the context to the event. As the cosplayer Bombvoyage in these photos in this video, I have a few things to say. 1. The weapon I am holding is a prop, which is marked with an orange tip and ribbon. The orange tip was very visible to everyone in the atrium. It's just difficult to see through the pictures. 2. The prop was cleared as okay to use by the convention staff and Atlanta police. 3. The prop is not mine. It was borrowed from another cosplayer for a brief period. It's honestly sad how much attention this is getting. There are far more important things to focus criticism on at conventions: sexual assault, inappropriate behavior, inappropriate attire in public places, illegal substance abuse, and the list goes on. I do apologize for pointing the gun at people, as I realized that was inappropriate of me to do that. I did not intend to scare or threaten anyone. So the two main points in this post that really matter here are: 1, the prop was cleared by both the convention staff and the Atlanta police. So they got the clear from the con itself and the local authorities to be allowed to show off the prop gun. The second thing on top of that is how the weapon was marked. It was marked with an orange tip at the end of the barrel and an orange ribbon on the side of it to show that this was cleared by the convention staff. This isn't an actual weapon, it's a prop. But it very much contradicts the main rule against prop weapons. If it looks like a weapon and could be mistaken as a weapon, even if it is a prop, it shouldn't be in the convention space. That was one of the points made in the Code of Conduct, in the FAQ, and a main rule for the convention to attend it. So it kind of surprises me that the convention staff cleared this with that rule in mind. And it could just be, you know, the rule was neglected or not thought about in the moment when it was being cleared. Now, despite the statement that Pedro made, a lot of folks were still upset about this. I'm not going to sit here and dissect the statement or the apology. All that matters is that there was a lot more clarification about it, that it was clear by the con, and it was marked appropriately by the con. So what does that mean from here on out? Well, eventually, FWA put out a statement about the event and what they're doing in the future to prevent things like this from happening, and to protect the overall safety and well-being for convention attendees. Hey y'all, we've been hearing a lot of feedback about attendees wearing cosplay and carrying prop weapons that made attendees feel unsafe this year. We have historically allowed for a wide margin of creative freedom when it comes to cosplay at FWA, but it is absolutely critical that we balance that freedom with an atmosphere of safety for all. We didn't find the right balance this year, so we'll be making some changes for future events. 1. Although realistic looking weapons in military attire are already prohibited by our attendee policy, the language is somewhat unclear. We'll be clarifying and strengthening that language, including by providing specific examples of prohibited props in cosplay. 2. In the past, we have given guidance but have mostly relied on attendees to know about, understand, and follow this policy themselves. Going forward, we'll be increasing staffing and putting more systems in place to make sure that inappropriate items or cosplay are removed from convention spaces, even if their owners don't know about the rules. 3. We'll be increasing the training of our staff and security vendors to ensure that they also understand the policy. This should help prevent items from being piece tagged incorrectly, and ensure that our staff is prepared to address any inappropriate items. We appreciate all of your feedback, and we are actively investigating each and every concern that we have seen and has been brought to our attention. It's important to us that you feel safe at FWA, and it is our responsibility to make that happen. Thank you for bearing with us during this period, and we look forward to seeing you next year. FWA directors. So all in all, it was addressed straightforward. They're going to try and make things a lot more clear in the future of what is allowed and what isn't allowed, and making sure that those who might not know, Jesus, train, chill. Okay. But overall, they're looking to make it clear of what is and isn't allowed, and informing those, having staff more aware. That's all you can really do at the end of the day. Because I think all things considered, like, many missteps were made in this process. It was labeled maybe incorrectly. It was in the convention space, and con staff didn't see it and tell Bombvoyage or whoever the friend was that had the fake weapon to put it away. A lot of steps were missed to get to that point. You have to admit, like, even though it might have been, I guess, a cool thing in the moment, you have to understand why this makes people uncomfy. I think anyone can see and understand why having a prop weapon like that in a con space is not okay. It's the safety of everyone overall, so as such, things should be accommodated as such. And that's the thing about drama like this. At the end of the day, all you can really do is give feedback to the convention. Complaining about it on Twitter isn't really going to get that far. That's how a lot of this drama can kind of be minimized from people talking about it to just like, hey, maybe if we just took the opinion that we were about to tweet about and threw it in like the submission form for feedback, a lot of this drama could be avoided. And I think all in all, with regards to furry convention drama, this is kind of settled in like the best way possible for everyone involved. You know, no one got banned, at least from my knowledge, and the rules were made a lot clearer in the end, and everyone can go into the next con happy. That's really it. I mean, heck, by the time I finish recording this, it's probably not being talked about anymore, so. But either way, that is the Bombvoyage drama. Thank you for watching. But either way, that's gonna about do it for me. Hope you have a wonderful night, take care, stay life jacket, and I'll see you the next con, maybe. Twitter's great, isn't it?